Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 1 hour. A decade on as the startup nation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges young entrepreneurs to drive aspiration, creation, and to invest in manufacturing and tech. Iran protests ease after week-long shutdown and crackdown. India urges citizens to leave the West Asian nation and to avoid travel there. US bipartisan delegation visits Copenhagen to back Greenland amid Trump's Arctic island takeover claims. 7 killed in Uganda post-election violence as Museveni's rule nears 5th decade. As the flagship Startup India program completed 10 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recalled the journey of Indian innovators. Today, India boasts of the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Here's our report.
India observed National Startup Day on Friday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in a program at Bharat Mandapam marking a decade of the Startup India initiative. Prime Minister Modi observed that thanks to the startup culture, risk-taking today has become mainstream among young entrepreneurs.
रिस्क-टेकिंग पर मैं खास तौर जोर देता रहा हूं, क्योंकि ये मेरी भी पुरानी आदत है। जो काम कोई करने के लिए तैयार नहीं होता, ऐसे काम जो दशकों से पहले की सरकारों ने नहीं छुए, क्योंकि उनमें चुनाव हारने का, कुर्सी जाने का डर था। जिन कामों के लिए लोग आकर कहते थे ये बहुत पॉलिटिकल रिस्क है, मैं उन कार्यों को अपना दायित्व समझकर जरूर करता हूं। आपकी तरह ही मेरा भी मानना है, जो काम देश के लिए जरूरी है, वो किसी न किसी को तो करना ही होगा, किसी को तो रिस्क लेना ही होगा। नुकसान होगा तो मेरा होगा, लेकिन अगर फायदा होगा तो मेरे देश के करोड़ों परिवारों को फायदा होगा।
Prime Minister said in 2025, India registered 44,000 new startups, marking the biggest jump in any single year since the launch of the initiative.
पिछले ही साल यानी 2025 में करीब 44,000 और नए स्टार्टअप रजिस्टर हुए हैं। ये स्टार्टअप इंडिया की शुरुआत के बाद किसी एक साल के सबसे बड़ा जंप है ये आंकड़े इस बात के गवाह है कि हमारे स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम इनोवेशन और ग्रोथ को किस तरह ड्राइव कर रहे हैं।
With over 2 lakh recognized startups, India stands firmly as one of the world's largest startup ecosystems. Full life cycle support system with ideation, funding, mentorship and scale up. 50% of startups originate from tier 2 and 3 cities. There is also an impressive rise of women-led startups. On the occasion, Prime Minister Modi visited a startups exhibition and interacted with innovators. Startup India was launched in 2016 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the objective of making India a nation of job creators rather than job seekers. As Startup India completes the historic 10 years milestone, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the culture of innovation embraced by the youth. He complimented them on the risk-taking appetite and urged them to focus energies on emerging technologies and manufacturing. With camera person Vishwabandhu, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Delhi.
As Startup India completes the historic milestone of 10 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the culture of innovation embraced by the youth of the nation. On the occasion, 20 startups were accorded National Startup Awards for excellence in diverse domains.
We have invented a pocket-size ECG device. It's a 12-gram in weight, so that allows you to take ECG at home. A special thank to PM Narendra Modi that has given us this opportunity and appreciated our startup. And today we have got an award from them as well. We have been funded and been supported a lot by Startup India, and heartful thankful to them.
Our startup is basically the metal handling robots for industries. Basically, we move materials from 100 kgs to few tons of materials we move within the industries. So literally we all have a myth that robotics is for outer world. We wanted to break that myth and we wanted to have the products from India to the world. So that is our thing. Maybe we more incline with the message of PM today. So whatever he says, like next 10 years would be the great years of us for us. Maybe now it's a time for India. So we go with his flows and then we take his message very sensibly, and then we wanted to move forward in this direction.
Well, let's listen to other reactions now from participants of the event.
We actually work on the science of genome sequencing. We are creating products for infectious disease, basically to reduce the antibiotic resistance problem in the larger community. We have created two solutions in this spectrum. One is for tuberculosis patients specifically, where in a single report now, which is a ICMR approved report now, we are able to provide information about 18 antibiotics, which of these are going to work. And this is practically the most informative solution that we are able to place on a clinician's table in the world. This is a technology that India has created, which is actually going to be useful for the world.
Autonomy is the first Indian startup building humanoid robotics and robot dogs within the country. We train our own AI models, we collect our own data sets, and we build our robots from scratch. Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi sir's Startup India mission has been a great accelerant in our journey, and it has, the idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat has really pushed us to start believing in building our own robots. We don't want to rely on foreign goods and foreign robots to look at a Vikasit Bharat, which I think aligns with the vision that the Prime Minister has set for us, and we are really excited to be on this mission for the country and for the future.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Assam and West Bengal on the 17th and 18th of January. The Prime Minister will dedicate and lay the foundation stone for various rail and road projects in Malda on Saturday. The Prime Minister will flag off India's first Vande Bharat sleeper train between Howrah and Guwahati. Prime Minister will also inaugurate, lay the foundation stone and flag off various development projects in Hooghly. Prime Minister will also flag off 7 Amrit Bharat trains, boosting rail connectivity of West Bengal with other states. On Saturday, Prime Minister will be in Assam, where he will participate in a historic cultural event celebrating the rich heritage of the Bodo community in Guwahati. On Sunday, Prime Minister will perform a Bhumi Pujan for the Kaziranga Elevated Corridor Project. The 86-kilometer-long Elevated Corridor Project is an environmentally conscious national highway project. The project aims to improve regional connectivity while ensuring protection of the park's rich biodiversity. Prime Minister will also flag off 2 new Amrit Bharat Express trains to strengthen rail connectivity between the Northeast and North India. Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has hailed the launch of the Vande Bharat sleeper train that will be flagged off by Prime Minister Modi on Saturday. Let's listen.
कल माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी वेस्ट बंगाल को 1 दर्जन से ज़्यादा न्यू ट्रेन्स की एक बहुत बड़ी सौगात देंगे और जो पहली वंदे भारत स्लीपर वो भी कल गुवाहाटी से कोलकाता के बीच में स्टार्ट होगी। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी इसका इनॉग्रेशन करेंगे।
Tensions are rising at the United Nations over the situation in Iran. The United States has voiced strong support for protesters, while Iran and Russia accuse Washington of interference. Calls for restraint are coming from world leaders as demonstrations continue and the risk of regional escalation grows. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay has a report.
As tension soars high in Iran, the United States has voiced strong support for protesters. At the UN Security Council meet, US Ambassador Mike Waltz said that President Donald Trump stands by what he called the brave people of Iran and warned that all options remain on the table to stop the violence.
President Donald J. Trump and the United States of America stands by the brave people of Iran. Period. And regardless of its excuses, and you will hear many today from the Iranian regime and from its friends, the regime is solely responsible for the economic misery of the Iranian people and the repression of their freedom, and they will be held accountable.
Meanwhile, Iran's deputy UN ambassador Gholam Hossein Darzi rejected the US stance, accusing Washington of spreading lies and fueling unrest. He warned that any aggression would be met with a lawful and proportionate response.
Any threat to use of force against the Islamic Republic of Iran under any pretext, including claims of protecting protesters or supporting the Iranian people, constitute a grave and manifest violation of international law and the UN Charter.
Amid the ongoing tension, countries are closely following the developments. India on Friday issued an advisory urging Indian nationals in Iran and those planning to travel to Tehran to remain cautious.
We have around 9,000 Indian nationals in Iran. They are mostly students, people connected with business, some professionals as well, pilgrims and seafarers. Given the situation there, we have issued a few advisories asking Indian nationals to avoid all travel to Iran, and Indian nationals who are already resident in Iran to leave Iran by available means, including commercial flights. We continue to closely watch the unfolding situation there and will take all necessary steps for the welfare of our people.
In Moscow, President Vladimir Putin held separate calls with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, offering Russia's mediation to ease tensions. Kremlin said Russia is already assisting Iran and the wider region in promoting stability and peace.
Russia provides help not only to Iran but to the entire region, promoting stability and peace thanks to presidential efforts aimed at de-escalation.
The Munich Security Conference, one of the world's top security fora, said it was withdrawing an invitation to Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi after the Tehran government's crackdown on protesters. As the situation remains volatile, global powers are urging restraint and dialogue. As protests continue in Iran and international voices weigh in, the focus now turns to whether diplomacy can ease the crisis and prevent further escalation in the region. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Washington has launched a 20-point strategy plan. This is for phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan. Now, a 15-member Palestinian technocratic committee will be deployed to manage the day-to-day governance. Here's our report.
The White House is upping the ante in Gaza. Washington has unveiled a high-stakes 20-point strategy for Phase 2, moving beyond a simple ceasefire to focus on a total overhaul of Gaza's governance and a massive reconstruction effort. Phase 2 aims for the full demilitarization and reconstruction of Gaza, including the disarmament of all unauthorized armed factions. Gaza will be administered by a 15-member Palestinian technocratic committee charged with managing the day-to-day governance. US President Donald Trump announced the formation of a Gaza Board of Peace, which will be headed by Trump himself. The plan also calls for the deployment of an international stabilization force to help secure Gaza and train vetted Palestinian police units. Announcing phase 2 of the deal, US Special Envoys to West Asia Steve Witkoff said that failure to do so would bring serious consequences. But Hamas has so far adamantly refused to give up its weapons, which it sees as tools of resistance to Israel's decades-long military occupation. The first phase began on October 10 and aimed primarily to stop the fighting in the Gaza Strip, allow in aid, and also secure the return of all remaining living and deceased hostages held by Hamas and other groups. The plan's second phase is now underway, though clouded by ongoing allegations of aid shortages and violence. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Now still to come here on DD India News Hour. US President Trump warns of invoking Insurrection Act after Minneapolis immigration protests, unrest in Minnesota. Ex-South Korean President Yoon is jailed for 5 years over failed martial law bill, dividing public opinion. US investment firm Tiger Global must pay capital gains tax on its 2018 sale of Flipkart shares to Walmart. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. Now, during his opening address at the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue on Friday, the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar emphasized on how India prioritizes its friendship with Japan, also adding that over the last 2 decades, India, or in fact both countries, have been successful in transforming the ties from economic to the broad, comprehensive strategic partnership.
India attaches very great priority to its friendship with Japan. And over the last 2 decades, we have been successful in transforming the relationship from what was primarily an economic relationship into one that is broad, comprehensive, and strategic in its focus. We attach the highest priority to working with Japan in international forums.
The EAM also said that it was the Japanese Prime Minister who laid the ground for the emergence of the Indo-Pacific as a political, economic and strategic construct, and that the vision of the Indo-Pacific aligns closely with the free and open Indo-Pacific outlook.
It was a Japanese Prime Minister who, in his address to the Indian Parliament, laid the ground for the emergence of the Indo-Pacific as a political, economic, and strategic construct. The relationship today sees that our initiative of what we call Mahasagar, which is oceans in a way, and vision for the Indo-Pacific aligns closely with your free and open Indo-Pacific outlook.
Earlier, the External Affairs Minister welcomed the Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi for the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue, emphasizing strengthened bilateral ties amid global uncertainties. Both ministers discussed Indo-Pacific stability, AI and semiconductor cooperation, resilient supply chains, critical minerals, energy, health, and maritime security. On the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, meeting his Japanese counterpart in New Delhi today, the MEA spokesperson said that both leaders discussed defense cooperation, among other things.
Defense cooperation with Japan. This is an important element of our collaboration, and this was a matter that was discussed between the two leaders, External Affairs Minister and Foreign Minister of Japan, and we look forward to further strengthen our ties. You asked about several of these projects. There are several projects which are under consideration, and we want to further strengthen our ties, taking into account all the projects that you mentioned.
The External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, on Friday interacted with representatives from 39 countries participating in the 6th Annual Disarmament and International Security Affairs Fellowship Program, which was organized by the External Affairs Ministry. So the minister exchanged views with these young representatives on a diverse range of subjects, including security challenges facing the world today. The EAM also underlined the importance of pragmatic and creative diplomacy to address them. South Korea's political crisis has taken a dramatic legal turn. A court has sentenced the former president Yoon Suk-yeol to 5 years in prison over his failed attempt to impose martial law, a verdict that has sharply divided public opinion. DD India's Adamya Mishra has the report.
South Koreans remained sharply divided on Friday after a court sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol to 5 years in prison over his failed attempt to impose martial law in December 2024. The Seoul Central District Court found Yoon guilty of mobilizing the Presidential Security Service to block investigators from executing an arrest warrant at his residence. The verdict marks the first ruling in a series of criminal cases against the ousted leader. Public opinion remains split, with some residents saying the punishment was too lenient, while others questioned the arrest process, arguing that insurrection cannot exist within a presidential system. Yoon was convicted of obstructing investigators after declaring martial law, a move that was quickly overturned before Parliament impeached him. Lawyers for South Korea's former president denounced the verdict, terming the 5-year prison sentence politicized, and announced plans to go for appeal.
Today's guilty verdict is a decision that overly simplifies the boundary between the president's exercise of constitutional authority and criminal liability. If this reasoning stands, no future president will be able to make decisions in times of crisis. A criminal trial should have been conducted on the basis of law and judicial process, not politics. We express strong regret that the decision was made in a politicized manner.
The former prosecutor was also found guilty of fabricating official documents and failing to follow legal procedures needed for imposing martial law, including holding a formal cabinet meeting. The ruling is the first criminal verdict linked to Yoon's failed martial law bid, deepening political divisions and raising questions over the limits of presidential authority in South Korea. Adamya Mishra's report for DD India.
A U.S. bipartisan congressional delegation kicked off a visit to Copenhagen on Friday, and they are expressing support for Denmark and Greenland after President Donald Trump's threats to take over the Arctic island. So the 11 congressmen and women, they will hold talks with the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and her Greenlandic counterpart Jens Frederik Nielsen, among others, and the U.S. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen said that this debate over Greenland makes little sense.
Just the suggestion that the U.S. would take Greenland by force does real damage, not just to the relationship with Greenland, with Denmark, but to America's own national security. It erodes decades of hard-won confidence among allies, and it weakens the sense of security that comes with it. And that rhetoric plays right into the hands of our greatest adversaries, Russia and China.
Well, the Kremlin said on Friday that Russia considers Greenland to be Danish territory and added that the security situation surrounding the island was extraordinary from the perspective of international law. Moscow said that the crisis over the territory showed the double standards of Western powers, which claimed moral superiority. Trump reiterated on Wednesday that the U.S. needs Greenland and that Denmark cannot be relied upon to protect the island, even as he said that something will work out with respect to the future governance of the Danish overseas territory. German Defense Ministry on Friday said a Denmark-led reconnaissance mission in Greenland is set to determine whether Eurofighter jets can be deployed and whether maritime surveillance is possible with frigates. So this mission aims to evaluate the security situation in the Arctic and explore how NATO partners can contribute to regional defense efforts. The ministry also added that this mission, it involves planning exercises with P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, the deployment of naval units for maritime monitoring, and the potential use of Eurofighter jets in the region. US President Donald Trump has threatened to invoke an emergency law that allows the domestic deployment of the military after federal agents killed one person and injured another in Minnesota, sparking mass protests. Protesters have denounced Trump's his broad-reaching immigration raids in rallies in the region. Let's look at this report.
After days of angry protests and unrest over a surge in immigration agents on the streets of Minneapolis, US President Donald Trump warned to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy military forces in Minnesota. Trump's latest warning came a few hours after an immigration officer shot a Venezuelan man who the government said was fleeing after agents tried to stop his vehicle in Minneapolis. The man was wounded in the leg. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey criticized the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency after a Venezuelan national was shot during a federal immigration raid on Wednesday evening.
ICE can leave and this massive deployment can come to an end. We have filed litigation to hopefully make it so, and at the same time, I'm deeply concerned that we don't have that kind of time. This is already the second shooting that we've had in a week.
Confrontation between residents and federal officers have become increasingly tense after an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent fatally shot a US citizen, Rennie Good, in a car 8 days ago in Minneapolis, and the protests have spread to other cities. The Insurrection Act allows the president sidestep the Posse Comitatus Act to suppress armed rebellion or domestic violence and use the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce the 19th century law. It has been used 30 times in US history, according to New York University's Brennan Center for Justice. The Supreme Court has ruled that the president alone can determine if the act conditions have been met. But does the law allow people to sue ICE agents? US law makes it very difficult to sue federal agents as individuals, but victims can sue the federal government for compensation when its employees cause financial or bodily injury in the course of their work. This is covered by the Federal Tort Claims Act of 1946, an exception to a legal doctrine called sovereign immunity, which usually shields the federal government from lawsuits. In a FTCA case, a plaintiff typically alleges a government employee acted negligently or wrongfully. The statute might apply, for example, if an ICE agent damaged vehicles during an enforcement action. The statute would also allow family members of someone killed by the ICE to seek compensation for wrongful death. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, in a major ruling, the Supreme Court of India has held that capital gains arising from Tiger Global's $1.6 billion stake sale in Flipkart to Walmart are taxable in India. The verdict marks a key win for the Indian tax authorities and settles a long-running dispute over the use of international tax treaties. The top court ruled that Tiger Global is not entitled to claim tax exemption under the India-Mauritius Treaty. It agreed with the Income Tax Department's view that the structure used for the transaction was aimed at avoiding tax liability in India. Though, as per CBDT sources, the rupees 967.5 crore tax refund claimed by Tiger Global is likely to be adjusted against the final tax demand as assessment proceedings for the assessment year 2019-20 now revive. The refund amount, which was withheld under Section 241A of the Income Tax Act, will be examined as part of the final assessment to be completed in line with the Supreme Court's ruling. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. We'll get you expert opinion on the rise of India's startups. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla stresses neutrality, fairness at the Commonwealth Speakers Conference.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lin. And to put into perspective India's startup mission, the gains over the last decade, we have with us Dr. Rishi Mohan Bhatnagar. He's the chairman of Futrid Innovation Studios. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhatnagar. He's joining us from Delhi. Now, how has the startup mission transformed India's entrepreneurial landscape over the past decade, particularly, in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities?
Yeah, it has been a very big success, 10 years. From 4 unicorns, we have now 128 unicorns. From, say, 400, 500 startups, we have 200,000 plus startups in the last 10 years. The biggest thing is that, the Indians, the young entrepreneurial Indians, that innovative Indians have been given an opportunity. They have been given an ecosystem. They have given an encouragement so that they can start working on something which is a transformative new opportunities. So, this is a very good successful story of the Government of India, where allowing creating an ecosystem, creating incubation centers, encouraging individuals with a lot of kind of support in terms of commercial, financial, mentorship, infrastructure, so that they can create what we have unicorns now. Okay.
Indeed. You say about the 128 unicorns. So what measurable impact do you think that startups have had, let's say, on employment generation, on GDP growth? And how does this compare with the global startup hubs like Silicon Valley? Also, women-led development. We have 46%, in fact, of the startups have women leaders.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. We are now third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Okay. That has taken us to a very unique position where earlier we used to be considered as people who are working only on the system integration. People who are going to work of what new initiatives taken by the Western world, and we are going to do the back-end jobs. Now we are leading it. These 127 unicorns are really participating a lot in the GDP of the India, creating huge amount of jobs and new kind of ideas that can create some large changes, large transformation across globe. And when you think about 46% of these are Indian women, that again going to change the way we have been thinking about the growth strategy and the kind of initiatives we have for women. I just want to share one thing.
Sure, go
For
ahead.
1500 years, 500 BC till 1000 AD, India used to be led by the entrepreneurs, and we were doing innovations, research, and designs.
Right.
And our spices, our textile, our gems and jewelries, our metallurgy used to lead the whole world. And we are the 38% of the global GDP. Between 30 to 38% of the GDP is what global GDP is used to have. And that all used to be because of the innovations, the kind of design and the research that were happening in the country. And majority of them were led by women, because it was the women at home that used to take care of the businesses, setups and skills. And men used to go out for trade.
Indeed.
So this is now repeated.
So indeed, that is the lesson, of course, from the ancient past, and one should always treasure our heritage. But, when we look at the current times, government interventions, funding, incubators, tax breaks, how effective have they been, in bridging the gaps, let's say, that a young entrepreneur had, or giving them confidence?
In 2016, I was the one who led the first startup awards in India. Okay. You can imagine that today it is 16th of January, and in the month of October that year, we did our first startup awards in 2016. Okay.
Right.
And that time, asking for nomination and calling people for nomination was something which was a big task for us. Okay. And getting people to come and exhibit in the startup was something which we had to do huge amount of job. As the Honorable Prime Minister said today, that there were only 500, 600 people sitting in the Vigyan Bhavan when he announced the startup mission.
Right.
But today, the hall was full and the Bharat Mandapam was getting smaller for the amount of people who are working. With 200,000 plus startups in India, it has changed the whole landscape. So not only that's the financial perspective, where we are able to give funds to the young entrepreneurs with good ideas to work on. But in addition, how we have been able, the country has been able to solve and reduce the kind of support required in terms of legal approvals, company formation. All of these things have been really great for us.
Indeed.
And that's what have been done under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister. The Government of India has done a fantastic job in creating all this. And another thing is the IP creation. And this time, the 100,000 crore rupees worth of money that has been put for the research led.
Right.
When we have to have startups, we have to have IPs, we have to have our own patents.
Indeed.
And that's way the country will grow by the technology. Today, when the Honorable Prime Minister was talking about, I am personally one of the investors, and I have also invested in the space startup. There are 200 startups in the space technology, and the future is going to be on space, future is going to be on ocean, future is going to be on next level of fuel, and so on and so forth. And now the country is giving our young brain, young entrepreneurs to take that risk and take that opportunity of the government policies and take the country to the next level.
So you're talking about, different sectors where India is likely to succeed and excel, in fact. But how successful have Indian startups been in scaling globally? What challenges remain and, to make us more competitive on the world stage?
See, I personally feel that India is such a huge market and we have 1.4 billion people. If we are able to grow in this market, and another thing which we have to focus on, that the Indian market force you to be at a lower price. You have to have a pricing points which Indians can buy at. So, once I was reading a news about the Honorable Prime Minister when he said initially when the mobile prices, call time prices was 16 rupees a minute, he used to say that I can afford only 1 rupee a minute, and today our calls are free.
Right, right.
That means the Indian telecom or Indian industry has not only worked on the scale but also at a price points. And once we are able to achieve not only the scale but also the price point which India can pay, taking it to the global market is not a big challenge if it is more of a software-based technology solution. The challenges comes when we are into the hardware or the component or the manufacturing part. There we all have to do something more. There we all have to do something more, in terms of learning, designing, and creating some more R&D and innovation to bring to the quality of that product. We have been from the very start, Indians have always been very good in creating soft products. Software, we have been we are
software as a service,
in the world.
SaaS, right. Yeah.
But the moment it comes to creating design for a product, which is a hardware, it's a manufacturing thing, there we are still learning. And there how to scale the challenge and taking it to the global level is something where we have to learn a bit more, and we require some more support and guidance and some support from the government of India to help us.
So let's look then at priorities for Startup India mission going ahead, because 1 decade old, but still India is looking at the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. So obviously we require a lot more startups and that momentum to be sustained. So what do you think Startup Mission really needs to prioritize on?
See, as the Honorable Prime Minister also said today, that while we are thinking about X amount of GPUs for AI, we have been able to give more to the people. Okay, that's a very big initiative. That's a very good thing to talk and to say. But the amount of startups needing more GPUs and the cost at which they are still getting it is quite high. So the cost price of the infrastructure requirement for creating some more innovative ideas is something which is high, and we need to see how can we deliver it. The another thing which we have to see is who is getting these, infrastructure, whether they are some internationally funded organization, or it's only the top tier 1, tier 2 colleges and institutes, or people in the tier 2, tier 3 cities who have much more, appetite to grow and which needs much more support from the country.
Right.
So that's one part, but especially on the manufacturing.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. We are running short of time, so and we're not getting a good clear image of you. So I think there's a problem with the the connectivity. But thanks very much. I think you've given us a clear perspective, about India's startup mission and its achievements over the last 10 years, and also some sort of focus ahead. Thanks for being with us. Dr. Rishi Mohan Bhatnagar, expert on the tech sector, chairman of Futrid Innovations Solutions. Moving on to our next story. The Lok Sabha Speaker, Om Birla, while addressing the keynote session of the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth on Friday, underlined the vital duty of presiding officers to stay neutral, fair and impartial.
भूमिका तटस्थ हो, न्यायपूर्ण हो, निष्पक्ष हो, यह बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है। हमारी पार्लियामेंट स्टैंडिंग कमेटी जो मिनी पार्लियामेंट के रूप में काम करती है, जो दलों से उठकर मिनी संसद के रूप में काम करती है, हम अपनी अपनी संसद के अंदर स्टैंडिंग कमेटियों को भी बनाएं और स्टैंडिंग कमेटियों में व्यापक चर्चा हो, संवाद हो, विधेयकों पर भी अच्छी चर्चा हो, ताकि हम बेहतर तरीके से संसद के अंदर मिनी पार्लियामेंट के सुझाव, उनकी रिकमेंडेशन के आधार पर ठीक से पॉलिसी, नीतियां और कानून बना सकें।
The 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth concluded at the Parliament House in New Delhi on Friday. Delegates from over 40 countries have actively shared insights on strengthening parliamentary democracy during this three-day conference. It was chaired by the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, and the event focused on contemporary issues like AI integration in legislatures, also social media's impact on members of parliament, and exchanging and enhancing also public engagement. The Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla visited the Bharat on the Move multimedia exhibition at the Parliament House complex in New Delhi after the conclusion of the conference. So this exhibition showcases India's democratic journey and the country's achievements across various sectors. Delegates also from different parts of the world who had arrived to participate in this conference of presiding officers and speakers visited the exhibition as well. It was organized by the Central Bureau of Communication. The exhibition presents India's democratic history and development journey through digital and multimedia platforms. The BJP-led ruling alliance is set for a massive victory in Maharashtra's 29 municipal corporations. So the BMC, which is the richest municipal corporation in the country, has a total of 227 member seats, with the majority mark being 114. Now, the BJP-Shiv Sena alliance is currently leading in 28 seats in the BMC polls. For overall seats, as per the trends, the BJP-Shiv Sena alliance is currently leading in 88 seats, while the Thackeray brothers have taken the lead in 71 seats. So the Congress is leading in 24 seats. The BJP have a massive edge on most of the corporations, including Mumbai, Pune, Pimpri-Chinchwad, Kalyan, Dombivali, Nashik, Thane and Navi Mumbai. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed gratitude to the voters of Maharashtra as the BJP-led Mahayuti is moving towards a landslide victory in the state's civic body polls. On X, the Prime Minister wrote, and I quote, "Thank you, Maharashtra. The dynamic people of the state bless the NDA's agenda of pro-people good governance. The results of various municipal corporation elections indicate that the NDA's bond with the people of Maharashtra has further deepened. Our track record and vision for development have struck a chord. My gratitude to the people across Maharashtra. This is a vote to add momentum to progress and celebrate the glorious culture the state is associated with. I am very proud of every NDA Karyakarta who worked tirelessly among people across Maharashtra. They talked about our alliance's track record, highlighted our vision for the coming times, and also effectively countered the lies of the opposition. My best wishes to them," unquote, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Islami Andolan Bangladesh has formally quit the Jamaat-e-Islami-led electoral alliance, announcing that it will contest the 13th national parliamentary election independently in the 268 constituencies. So, this decision, in fact, was announced in Dhaka by the party spokesperson Ghazi Ataur Rahman, who said that it followed directives from the IAB, Amir and Chormonai Pir Mufti Saeed Mohammed Razaul Karim. Rahman said that Islami Andolan faced unfair treatment within the alliance and accused Jamaat of deviating from Islamic ideals. With Islami Andolan's exit, the 11-party Islamist alliance now stands fractured ahead of the parliamentary elections. The Bangladesh interim government has appointed Omar bin Hadi, the elder brother of the slain activist Osman Sharif bin Hadi, as the second secretary at the Bangladesh Assistant High Commission in Birmingham, UK. A notification issued by the Ministry of Public Administration said the contractual appointment is for 3 years and was made in the public interest. Omar bin Hadi has been asked to sever all professional ties with other organizations. While the government has termed the posting routine, critics say the timing raises questions, especially as demands for justice in Osman bin Hadi's killing remain unresolved. In Nepal, heavy security has been seen at the Election Commission building after two factions of Nepali Congress claimed their ownership to the party. So, in expectation of a clash between these two factions, traffic in fact was rerouted with heavy armed police security. Sher Bahadur Duba faction is not accepting the presidentship of Gagan Thapa, who was chosen unopposed in a special general convention. They are proposing to oppose this claim of Gagan Thapa by widespread protest. Press conference of Sher Bahadur Duba faction at the Nepali Congress Sanepa office, chaired by the acting president Purna Bahadur Khadka. And Sher Bahadur Duba faction has called the election of Gagan Thapa as unethical and wrong. Gagan Thapa is final office bearer of Nepali Congress Party, as 2 out of 3 members of ECN has given decision in favor of Gagan Thapa. At least 7 people were killed in violence overnight in central Uganda following national elections that looked set to extend veteran President Yoweri Museveni's rule into a 5th decade. Results announced by the Electoral Commission showed Museveni with over 75% of the votes in Thursday's presidential election. Based on tallies from 59% of polling stations, his main challenger, the popular singer Bobby Wine, trailed on with about 21%, and also the remaining votes were split among 6 other candidates. Let's get you the sports news now. And the Indian challenge at the India Open 2026 concluded on Friday. Lakshya Sen suffered a hard-fought quarter-final defeat, facing Chinese Taipei's Lin Chun-yi. The 24-year-old Indian started strong by taking the opening game, but he eventually succumbed to a 21-17, 13-21, 18-21 loss. Despite the home crowd support, Sen couldn't replicate the form that saw him win the Australian Open last November. And with his exit, India's hopes now for a title on home soil have officially ended. Sen will now look to regain momentum ahead of the upcoming European leg of the BWF Tour. Manchester Super Giants have signed the Indian star opening batter Smriti Mandhana for the upcoming edition of the 100 Women's Tournament. And the left-hander featured in 4 editions of the tournament between 2021 and 2024, scoring 676 runs in 29 innings for Southern Brave. And in fact, Smriti is among 6 Indians to have featured in this tournament so far. The list includes the captain of India, Harmanpreet Kaur, the star all-rounder Deepti Sharma, and the opener Shafali Verma, the wicketkeeper batter Richa Ghosh, and the middle order batter Jemima Rodrigues. So the Super Giants also announced the signing of the former Australia captain Meg Lanning, who has previously represented London Spirit and Oval Invincibles. Pune is buzzing as the international cycling teams have rolled in for the Pune Grand Tour 2026. This is India's first UCI 2.2 multi-stage road race. Riders from Morocco, the Philippines, Indonesia, Guam, Great Britain, Mauritius, they have all joined 2 Indian squads, bringing colour and character to the city's streets. From seasoned professionals to rising talent, 171 cyclists across 29 teams and 35 nations will test themselves over 437 kilometers of rugged terrain. Their arrival turns Pune into a global cycling hub, setting the stage for 5 days of festive competition. In a historic first, Britain will host the Grand Depart for the 2027 edition of the premier road cycling event, the Tour de France. So the occasion will mark the first time that both men's and women's tours will start in the same nation outside France. The men's opening stage will begin on July 2, working its way from Scotland's capital Edinburgh to Carlisle in northwest England. Meanwhile, the women's tour underway on July 30 from Leeds will head through the Peak District to Sheffield before the final stage in London. This also marks the 3rd time the men's race has visited Britain since 2007, when the Grand Depart was staged in London. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.